Turns out I made a boo-boo. Apparently, how we survived the Texas freeze. Uploaded early. Dang it. It's okay though. I got us covered. Check it out. Hi guys, and welcome to the History Rats. I'm Kayen. This is my husband Johnny, our 10-year-old daughter Athena, and our mighty dog Titan. Together, we make up the History Rats crew and family. We live on our 1974 Morgan Out Island 33 sailboat, Big Blue. Come and join us for the fun and the coastal adventure. Palacios isn't really that big of a town. It's 1.1 mile from the marina here on the bay up to 35, which is the main drag. Used to not be the main drag, but now it's the main drag. We've taken you a couple of places here in Palacios over the last few months, but due to the fact that I messed up, on top of the fact that I thought the Luther was on fire and I had to go make sure that my favorite historical hotel was okay and that Sweet Miss Baker was okay and they didn't need any help, I have a treat for you. I'm going to take you to see some of my favorite spots here in Palacios. Check it out. Whew. That was scary. Johnny was outside on the dock taking care of some stuff because in the boat life there's always something to do. And he comes in and he says, "Kayen, I think the Luther Hotel may be on fire. There's a big plume of smoke. And it looks like it's coming from that direction." Those of you who follow me on Dark History with the History Rats know that I'm quite fond of the Luther Hotel. I've done several written articles. I haven't done a YouTube video about it yet, but I'm sure that'll come eventually. So, Johnny comes in, says he thinks that the Luther may be on fire. So Kayen jumps on Hot Lips. That's my bicycle, for those of you that don't know. And I come down to check on my favorite hotel here in Palacios. And I'm pleased to report the Luther, that's that big white building, is not in fact on fire. Thank the gods. Whew. So, now I gotta catch my breath. There is quite a bit of smoke coming up over there, but it looks like it's on the other side of the bay. I don't really know what's over there. We've explored here in Palacios a little bit, but we have so far that we allow ourselves to pedal, because once you get so far, you have to turn around and come back. And while we may feel like we can certainly get there, getting back may be a problem. So that's not inside of our pedaling range. But whew, that's good news. And you see the plume of smoke that Johnny was talking about from our boat. It really did look like it was over the Luther. But like I said, thank the gods, the Luther is A-okay. They seem to still be having power trouble here. Look how pretty that is. Would you just look at it? Just look at it, it's so pretty. Yeah, just the other day there was a whole lot more beach than that. But that's what happens. If you look down there, that building right there, that's the City by the Sea Museum, the historic Luther Hotel, built in 1903, moved to its current location in 1905. And if you check this out, I don't know if you can read it through the screen, but it says Palacios Pavilions. In 1903, the Palacios Town Site Company arranged with the Southern Pacific Railroad to extend its line to the new city. The first train arrived on June 29th, bringing prospective settlers from Midwestern states. The company began construction of a pavilion on the South Bay in June of 1904. Designed by Victoria architect Jules Lefland, it was built on a pier extending 400 feet into the bay. Called the Pleasure Pavilion, it consisted of a central round 2-story open-air pavilion with boat docks and bathers' dressing rooms extended along the pier. It quickly became the social center of the town, offering such activities as swimming, boating, dancing, skating, and basketball games. The Pleasure Pavilion sustained hurricane damage in 1915, 1919, and 1934. Under the direction of a local seawall commission with the funding from the Federal Public Works Administration, it was raised in 1935 and replaced with a new pavilion called the Roundhouse. The Roundhouse Pavilion continued to be the focal point of the community activities, especially during the war years of the 1940s and the early 1950s. It was destroyed by Hurricane Carla in 1961, and eventually the city erected a smaller open-air pavilion in its place. So, this pier, the Pleasure Pavilion, actually used to be right there at the end, at the very end. Now, it's over there. That's the new Pleasure Pavilion. But after Hurricane Carla, it actually ended up in the driveway of the Luther. There used to be a double fountain right there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a circular thing of rocks right there, and there was a double fountain coming up. And when Carla came and picked up the pavilion and took it over there, it put it in the yard of the Luther, taking out the really cool fountain. But there's still a picture inside where you can see the cool fountain. So, ooh, would you look at that? Bay Fuzz trying to catch us riding dirty. I figure, since I'm already out here, and I've already showed you the Luther and where the old Pleasure Pavilion and Roundhouse Pavilion were located, I would stop on my way back to the marina and Big Blue and show you the Pleasure Pavilion as it is now. So, this is the Pleasure Pavilion. In fond memory of Roberta K. Anthus Ripe and her faithful devotion to the community, and a new Palacios Pavilion dedicated on May 4th, 2019. Now, if you remember, the original pavilion was built in 1904, not long after the town was created. I've never actually been inside. Let's see. Can we see anything? I can see the bay in the window coming, the reflection. If I do that, it's a big open space, and that, my friends, is a big ass fan. That's not me being facetious. I happen to know that that is actually the name brand of that fan, is a big ass fan. Why do I know this? because I have spent several fall down runs in Jack Brooks Park at their pavilion rodeo arena there. And I happen to know that those are actually called big ass fans. Now you know. Also, if you've never been to a fall down run, I don't know if they're going to have one this year because of all the stupid COVID crap, but if they do have one, it'll be at the end of September, the beginning of October, in Jack Brooks Park in the Hitchcock, Santa Fe, Lake City area. It is put on by the Lake City chapter of Gypsy MC International, and it is really, really fun. So you should definitely check that out if they're having it this year. This is the view from the pavilion, from the second story of the pavilion. That over there is South Bay Marina. Way down there in the second slip from the end, that's where we started our journey on Little Red. And you see that teal turquoise kind of boat? That's Warren's boat. That happens to be a Morgan. I believe it's a Morgan out island, just like ours. It's just slightly different. But yeah, that's South Bay. We'll keep coming around. We've got 2 sets of stairs. I believe they do weddings and birthday parties and such stuff inside there. And we keep coming around. And we get to the ramp. Then Athena really likes riding her bicycle down. And that bay is so freaking pretty. Sorry, trying to watch my feet, make sure I don't fall. I have a bad habit of watching where I'm recording and not watching where I'm walking. And that's not a... Oh! And I know that I've already mentioned this a couple times before, especially in our LaSalle adventure. But that, right there, my friends, is the Petite LaBelle. Is a half-size version of the actual LaBelle, which sank right here in Matagorda Bay under LaSalle's command, not long before LaSalle was killed by his men. So yeah, if you haven't watched our adventure with LaSalle, go back and check that out. It's on the channel. This is the underside of the pavilion. I love the acoustics in here. It echoes. I love it. So when we got here, the padlock wasn't on the public head. And yes, I do notice that I say head instead of bathroom. It's a boat life thing. You just get used to it. But there was an incident where it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I had to go hit the head, and there were actually quite a few homeless people sleeping on the backside of the public head, so that may have something to do with why they locked it up. Got a little pond over here. It seems to be kind of a little bit dry since the freeze, but still pretty cool. And in case you've never met her, meet Hot Lips Houlihan. My brother Matt actually named her because, you know, I'm a girl and I sit on it, and in the summer you get hot lips. But because he called it Hot Lips, I went to MASH because I grew up loving MASH. Hawkeye, PJ, Hot Lips, Frank. So since my bike is called Hot Lips, and she's a little squeaky, kind of like Hot Lips Houlihan. But since my bike is Hot Lips, I named Johnny's bike Frank. So, we got Hot Lips and Frank. Now you know. I love this house. And since we're already doing the tourist thing in Palacios, I want to take you up to see something pretty dang cool. Now, the owners aren't home, and I really hope that they don't mind that I'm doing this. But the coolest thing about this house is right here. I talked to the owner a while back, and he said that most people assumed that this house belonged to a doctor that was from here in Palacios. But right there, see, there's the door, the steps. M. Glaros, 1936. This badass structure right here on the corner was built in 1936 by a Greek sailor and fisherman, Mr. Glargos. However you say that, I could be saying that wrong. I'm from Texas, remember. But Mr. Glargos was a Greek sailor and fisher, and he came to Palacios and he bought a whole lot of land. Excuse the truck going by. I really need a mic. I really do. But life, you make sacrifices. So he bought a large tract of land here in Palacios because this was the city by the sea, and it was at one point the oyster capital of Texas, and another point it was the shrimping capital of Texas. Still a lot of shrimp boats. My brother Matt let us know that there is a show called Big Shrimpin'. Then actually a lot of the shrimp boats stay here in the port of Palacios, way over there on the other side of our marina. But the Greek sailor who built this house back in 1936 had a large amount of land, and he actually, remember the monument over there in front of where the pavilion used to be said something about the railroad. Well, this man actually sold the railroad part of his land so that they could get closer into the bay, so that they didn't have to travel as far to get from the bay to the railroad station. There's actually a couple of old railroad tracks still left here in town. We walk across it when we go to PMR. Still, it's pretty cool. Another cool fact about this building and the Luther, remember on the monument where it talked about how Hurricane Carla took out the pavilion, took it and put it in the Luther's driveway? Well, Carla took out most of Bay Street. That's that street going that way down the bay, and there were only 2 buildings on the bayfront left, and that was this building right here and the Luther Hotel. Now you know. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of Kayen's favorite places in Palacios. I know we didn't cover a whole lot of ground, but it's something, and now we have something to premiere on Premiere Friday. Yay! So be sure to throat punch that like button, hit subscribe so that you get updates whenever we make uploads here on History Rats. Follow us on Dark History with the History Rats on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Our username is History Rats. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Be good to each other.